The ACIJ-JMB was established by way of a cabinet submission with a national mandate to deepen public awareness of African cultural retentions and its relationship to other ethnic groups in Jamaica. For over 40 years, we have in fact been seriously involved in researching, disseminating, and archiving information on African heritage and its impact on the cultural landscape of Jamaica. This, of course, is being done to preserve the ancestral memories and cultural practices of our African descendants for generations present and to come. And so, in continuing that tradition, we have brought to you a contemporary analysis of Kumina under the title, Beat the Kbandu, Reinterrogating Kumina in Jamaica. This presentation is an important and needed addition to the literature on Kumina, especially because it offers a fresh perspective and it approaches Kumina by employing critical ethnography to offer insight into the practice. The purpose of this lecture, to be delivered by Ms. Hall, is to bring us closer to not only an understanding of the elements and traditions of Kumina, but also to raise our awareness about the current state of Kumina as an intangible cultural heritage and the threats of this religious practice, and the threats, rather, this religious practice faces. Kumina is an African-derived religion which originated among post-emancipation African contract laborers sent to Jamaica in the late 19th century. The practice of Kumina is centered not only on possession and by communication with sky, earth, and ancestral spirits, but also the celebration of life and death, the performance of healing rituals, and for individual protection. Kumina has played a significant role in the development of our cultural and spiritual identity as a people by maintaining an important historical connection to the continent of Africa and certainly to our ancestors. Since its emergence, Kumina has been met with much ambivalence by members of our society as a result of a new social order established by the colonizers after emancipation, which regulated and marginalized the social, cultural, and religious life of Africans and their descendants. However, Kumina has been instrumental in contesting the politics of colonialism and has managed to survive with our local communities to this very day. The religious practice of Kumina has attracted eminent scholars from various disciplines, such as history, anthropology, cultural studies, religious studies, and linguistics, to study its origins, social organization, beliefs and ceremonies, ritual language, complex drum rhythms, which you've been hearing, songs, and distinctive dance movements. Today, Kumina continues to be of scholarly interest and an important element in the ongoing efforts of the ACIJ-JMB to build greater levels of awareness and appreciation among people of African descent in Jamaica and, of course, the diaspora. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to welcome you once more to our lecture, and we invite you to tune in to our various events, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Importantly, I invite our physical and digital audiences to participate in the program by asking and sending us your questions and comments during the question and answer session. Thank you, and do enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Henry. You are well welcomed there. So now we move on to the introduction of our speaker, and that is going to be done by Ms. Chelsea Stevenson, one of our researchers.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so this morning I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague, who is also today's speaker. Ms. Marsha Hall is a research officer at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, since 2022. Her role involves the documentation of Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage and conducting interviews for the Jamaica Memory Bank, as well as presentations on Afro-Caribbean history and culture to primary, secondary, and tertiary level institutions. Ms. Hall also serves as a consultant to researchers on Jamaican folk culture. She's a cultural connoisseur and has lived and traveled extensively across West and East Africa for several years, where she has also been a delegate at several international conferences. She holds a master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies from the Middle East Technical University in Ankara, Turkey. Everyone, please put your hands together and welcome Marsha.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Ms. Louise. And of course, thank you to the director, Dr. Kurt Henry, for that warm introduction. So I will greet you in the Kikongo language. Malem. Malem Kento. Thank you. So thank you very much for your presence here in this space and online. It is indeed an immense pleasure to have an audience, no matter the size, in attendance for what I hope will be a very interesting, lively, and interactive discussion. As such, your attention is necessary and your participation in the question and answer segment is anticipated. I am pleased to have such a diverse audience, not only because I am presenting, but the Institute of Jamaica and the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, are both truly deserving of support at all levels as vanguards of Afro, Caribbean, and Jamaican cultural heritage in all facets. On a point of importance, please do not feel daunted or skeptical about today's title, particularly the phrase reinterrogating. It may be taken out of context by some as a negative nuance or a dismissal of previous scholarly work on Kumina, of which there's a plethora at the ACIJ JMB archives, from which I am the first to state has shaped this presentation and is a culturally rich vault. With excellently detailed ethnographic studies that have shaped this research and continue to provide relevant and important sources on African, Caribbean historical connections and intangible cultural heritage. From the erudite Professor Maureen Warner-Lewis, the late Dr. Olive Lewin, Laura Tanner, Clinton Hutton, Monica Shula, Kenneth Bilby, and other notables. The African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, remains a relevant institution for times such as these. So why Kumina and why this research, you may ask? My first and only response is I had no choice on the topic, full stop. And we can thank my supervisor, Ms. Weiss, for that. However, on a more pleasant and salient note, this research is part of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, mandate to research and document Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage. And since previous research, ethnographic research on Kumina, was completed several years ago, it is expected that the Institute, as the purveyor of Afro-Caribbean cultural retention, will offer fresh perspectives, thanks to the director for reminding me about that one, and insights on Kumina. Furthermore, this research was done in anticipation of submission for UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage. And I want to reiterate that though ethnographic research on Kumina has been completed several years ago, there are still persons locally and overseas who from time to time embark on their own personal and independent scholarship. So kindly allow me to take you through the research phase very briefly. The theoretical framework for this research is grounded in ethnography, and part of this reinterrogating involved exploring the ritualized performance of Kumina as culturally unique to the Jamaican landscape and complementary to research previously conducted. More so, when you delve into our archives at the ACIJ-JMB of interviews and recordings, you can tell that Kumina was vibrant and alive, and the practitioners equally filled with pride and joy about their culture. I say this not to dismiss or invalidate the Kumina that we see and experience these days. The methodology, or case selection, was qualitative research, and this offered a holistic insight into the cultural phenomena that is the Kumina community, the practitioners' views, their actions during ritualized performances, for example, Mayal, which we will get into, detailed observations and interviews conducted in their natural setting. And I will explain that a majority of this research was conducted in the parish of St. Thomas, in Yalos, Port Morant, Springbank area to be exact. Of course, Kumina is held in the underbellies of Kingston, Portland, St. Mary, and St. Catherine. The background, I already mentioned the reason for this research, and I reiterate, there is no shortage of ethnographic material from which to consult before venturing into the field. A likely limitation would have been time for more interactions and interviews with regular members living in the communities who neither practice nor adhere to Kumina. Yet, at the first sound of the drum, which was demonstrated for you here today, the members of the community, children, adults, young and old, they converged into the yard where a brief impromptu Kumina session was held in Springbank. The interviews were structured questions, and I engaged in more of an observer-participant role, careful not to disrupt the natural setting as much as I could throughout the interviews. A main issue I sought to address was how prevalent and relevant Kumina is in the community today, where practitioners reside, and to Jamaican culture at large, and of course, whether it was on the decline. Discussion of the data, this was really unstructured data for those of you who are in the field of ethnography. Again, due to limitation of resources to spend months in the Kumina community. I must say that previous ethnographic research on Kumina, the ethnographists were able to spend months and even years living among the Kumina practitioners. And as future ethnographic or historians, this is very critical. There was a total of 12 interviewees, 3 of whom are well known within Kumina circles. Their work is considered Kumina adjacent, and at some point they were in close relation with the community. Fortunately, they still do and interact with various aspects of Kumina culture, which is still highly visible in their respective work, and Philip Supersad is one of them. Though he's not a Kumina practitioner, I would consider him Kumina adjacent, and he's well known and respected in the Kumina circles. Also, we have in our possessions at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, a cache of photographic images and audiovisual recording of field work from which to pull from. Our analysis, I will keep it simple, but just to state that the focus on the communities and cultural retentions in the communities is honored by a présence africaine. And this is, for the Kumina practitioners, this means self-identity and modes of expressing their Africanness in different ways. That is, as a people with a past, history, and culture, particularly since Kumina was introduced to Jamaica by African indentured servants not enslaved Africans, who came or were lured to the highland with promises of work and payment for their labor. And for those of you who study French, I see a lot of students here, the Présence Africaine is also the name of a highly influential Pan-African quarterly, which is a cultural, political, and literary magazine that is published in Paris, France, and it is still widely in circulation. So with this disclaimer, I commence today's talk. But let me preface by saying a long research does not justify a long presentation. Also, this is my first ethnographic research as a research officer. I started with the ACIJ JMB last August, and my supervisor, Ms. Wees, just threw me out into the field just like that. And I said, when I was applying for this job, God, please do not let them give me Kumina. Give me something else. And you know, when I came and Ms. Wees said, oh, you'll be researching on Kumina, I was really shocked. Because I was like, God, did you not hear me? I thought we were in like a cool relationship here. So I really had no choice. And my only experience, you know, living among a group of, I wouldn't say indigenous people, but persons with different ethnic background from mine was in the Gambia, West Africa, where I lived for 5 years among the Mandinka people. And that was on a personal level. So if there are any Mandinkas online, Esama, which is good morning in the Mandinka language. Esama. For those of you unfamiliar with Kumina or have heard argument construed about what it is, well, for the purposes of this research, I will tell you what it is not. Kumina is not Obia. It is not Guzum. It is not superstition. And it is certainly not a pseudoscience. So, can we define Kumina? Yes and no. For me, and from what I gathered from this research, it is such a multifaceted culture and can be explored in many different ways. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Just when you think you know or have heard enough, there's always, you know, a next level to this. And I'm hoping that the practitioners that were invited here today, some of whom I interviewed, will make it on time, so we can actually, you know, learn more about Kumina culture. For this research, Kumina, Kalunga, Kadunga, is a syncopation of expressive communication, a vibrant spiritual celebration of life and death, primarily ritualized through ceremonies, notably mayal, births, wakes, entombment, songs, dances, music, which was demonstrated for you here today, and more importantly, for healing practices, protection, and injustice. With no linear links or of information or explanation, for some adherents, Kumina is a tradition or descendants' tradition of drumming and transition through the spirit or spiritual world. It is an inborn concept even. Some people adapt or adjust. For Adoma, who I'm hoping to be here, the daughter of the late great Kumina queen, Bernice, Kumina is our ancestors' African dance, I quote, coming from Africa. It was left behind by the ancestors, and what we have as the younger generation must be shared with everyone. For others, it expresses holistically a lifestyle of a certain set of African people, including their expert herbalism, and recalls the memory of a community, because Kumina is community. It is a collective that comes together. The individual ability to direct or redirect their participation in Kumina at the community level plays a fundamental role and offers a type of value in the transformation of rituals marked by cultural visibility. So with Kumina, you see and you hear. It is not something behind closed door, except for special occasions, that is. Such dual approaches to Kumina practices are why practitioners echo similar sentiments on Kumina rituals, expressing useful social attitudes that are effective when shared collectively. Such an occasion was evident at the home of Lenroy Alexander, fondly called Bongo Shot, and I will ask Jeff, the AV Tech, to just show some photos in the background for us, please. Thank you. So while I was there conducting the interview along with Mr. Paslier, AV Tech, as soon as on the first knock of the drum, the yard was just filled with people. Everybody just came in. It was like the drum was calling everyone to Bongo Shot, as he's fondly known as yard. And you know what they said? From a Bongo Shot yard, we hear Kumina, you know, so we have to did it. So I had no control over that environment. The practitioners whom I interviewed were all born into a family of Kumina practitioners, except for the three, Mr. Supersad, Marjorie Wiley, and Dr. Lantonette Steins. And so they're familiar with every aspect of the ritualized performances, the practitioners, that is. In Kumina, ritualized performances represent a sociocultural framework from which to examine the relationship between practitioners, shared identity, and their cultural interactions with the rest of us. Let me begin with the artistic expressions of Kumina music and songs, since that was the prelude to this presentation. This is traditionally operated through what is known as the Kumina bands. These are the pride and joy of Kumina communities. And pre the global health pandemic, there were regular competitions held by the Jamaica Cultural Development Competition, the JCDC, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And this meant that for numerous members of the public, this would be their first introduction to observe one aspect of Kumina culture, although that would have been in a more tempered or mild form. They would hear the music and the Kikongo language spoken or in the songs. They would see the Kumina style of dressing, and of course witness the Kumina king and queen, which are central figures within Kumina circles. It is this proximity of interaction with the wider public that has piqued the interest of individuals to view and think about Kumina in a different light. And I reiterate, it is not obia, it is not guzum, it is not superstitions, and it is not a pseudoscience. So, when the musical instruments in Kumina, the Kbandu and the plain cast, Mr. Supersad, can you just sound the Kbandu for us, please? One more. Thank you very much. And the plain cast. Ras, take off your shoes, it's all right. Thank you so much. And did any member of the audience here or online, did you hear any difference between the Kbandu and the plain cast? Yes? Can you raise your hand? What was the difference between both? Huh? The tone. So the Kbandu gives a bass sound, and the plain cast, a smaller one, gives a nice ringing tone. So the plain cast as well, the name, we spell it plain Kyass, K-Y-A-S-S, or some people will spell it K-Y-A-A-S. Its name is derived from the rum barrels, the cast barrels that used to hold the sugars on the sugar plantations. I don't know if they use them nowadays, but I know overseas they might still use them for bourbons and whiskey. And if you go online and try to buy a rum cast barrel, they're actually expensive, ranging from 200 US and up. So when the Kbandu and the plain cast, along with the kata sticks, and these are the kata sticks, meet the scraping sound of the grater, And the Greater is not here as yet, and I'm still hoping that Adoma and the rest of the team will be here. When they meet the Greater and the rattling of the shaka, then the observer becomes familiar with the rhythmic elements that are synonymous with Kumina. As both drums take center stage with the accompanying musical instruments, these somehow echo or mimic the way of life in Kumina communities, signifying a break from the mundane and monotonous slow grind of life, which I'm sure most of us can relate to, right? Or I can relate to. These rhythmic patterns weave a tapestry found in the grating of coconuts, the boiling pots of soup, the roasting, sizzling frying of foods, and the sweeping of the earthen floor. It is an alchemy of these elements converging into a symphony, but to the untrained ears, such sounds may go unnoticed. The music is also a cultural bridge linking community and people. The drum calls them out, and it is no wonder that the playing kias is referred to as the charmer drum, no doubt due to its ability to wake Kumina supporters out of their beds in the dead of the night. One supporter and player of the Kumina drum makes an analogy between the playing kias and the Kbandu. He likened the rhythmic elements to a conversation between a man and a woman. The steady 4-beat pattern, doo-doom, 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 of the playing cast is a very patient man saying, yes, there, and he's trying to soothe his wife in the form of the playing cast. Very staccato response, bringing with her a very high-pitched kind of urgency, bang, 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 telling him to hurry up and come home. So you see the analogy. So it's husband and wife, really, the Kbandu and the playing cast. Furthermore, drum rhythm affects the entire body and spirit, and take the practitioners, curious observers, and even innocent bystanders to a higher plane. In this case, this is Mayal. The body takes up space during Mayal, with communication between the dancers and drummer, dancers and ancestors. Adoma says it best. Malembe yetu in Kumina, it means we are ready to play drum. The Mumbaka way, that is the spiritual way. She further states, not any man can go up on drum, and say them and knock people in a mile, because you have man who knock drum and you have man who play drum, the Mumbaka way. Cue Adoma video, please. And you can see by this brief interview that I have, as she explained more about the Mayal during Kumina.
Play the drum, make the Mayal Kumina. Because the way of how they play the drum, the one that play the drum Pacific way or the alright way of how to play, that is the main time when they see ancestors come, where you see somebody normally catching Mayal. No, any man can go up and drum and not drum and say, yes, that man catching a Mayal, because sometimes they tell life a Mayal. But the way you have how you see the person dance in a specific way, you get to realize, say, yes, it's Mayal upon the person.
So does the rhythm of the drum invoke spirit during Kumina rituals?
Yes, the rhythm of the Pacific way of how it play.
Mm-hmm. Good. So I know that you're a renowned Kumina dancer.
Yes,
so we're going to talk about the dance now.
Yes, ma'am.
How does dancing connect you to the spirits or bring about healing?
Well, it don't come on to spirit Pacific until when you normally hear the drum, because the drum is what we dance after. Mm-hmm. And when the drum, even we're not dancing, and sit down and the drum play, somebody can catch in my hand. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can't even dance. And you as the one that dancing, don't catch in my hand, and the one that sit down right there, because here a specific drum and a specific spirit of that person turn up on the person, that they even catch in spirit. Because we normally dance off of the figure of how the drum play, yes, by moving.
Can you demonstrate any of the dance steps for us?
The main thing about Kumina in dancing, we have to be footed. Eh?
Yes. Stand to the camera.
Come. Play.
Pass the thing.
You up on that, make she sing. You have to sit down.
So as you do the dance steps, can you describe it for us, please?
Yes, you can.
That's why we as the one we always be, because when Kumina, we normally dance flat foot.
Right.
And they always, that way is dinky mini way, but a flat foot that we normally dance. Yeah. When I see the dango, male make it you wonder. Ale be bulale, kamba mabekale.
That was brilliant. So always flat foot and no shoes for Kumina.
Yes, miss, always flat foot. That's why we always beat people, because normally when they have some of them dancing, mostly in young generation, they lift up their foot. But in that way, when you lift up your foot, you call it a next dance name, dinky mini.
Right.
And you have to dance, you have to move towards how the drum play.
So you're always in communication with the drummer?
Always.
Okay.
It will have to go by.
So in recent time, thank you very much. So that was Adoma, the daughter of the late great Kumina Queen Bernice Henry, and I'm still hoping that she'll make it here on time because I'm sure you all have questions for her. So, one hard to miss feature of Kumina is Mayal. It is described as a portal or channel for connecting and opening up communication with the ancestor spirits, commonly referred to as catching the Mayal spirit. Whitmore Davis, a Kumina practitioner and one of the interviewees, explained that Mayal is when someone is chanted away in the spirit. In Mayal, you get a vision. When you get this vision, you have to relay the message from the ancestors. You baptize and you get filled, just like how Christian people them get in a spirit. But these are not any pious acts toward any deity. It is a complete different way of engaging the physical body with the spiritual world. As a manifestation of pervasive ancestral presence, Mayal reveals the sources and currents that represent Kumina's powerful visual culture. This is perhaps one of the most intriguing aspects of Kumina and a personal encounter that is not easily identified, forgotten, or put into words. From an academic point of view, I quote, Mayal is a state of being under the direction of the spirits. When the spirits come to you, they are related to the Africans from the olden days. Old Africans, the ancestors, and you are a vessel through which the spirit speaks, and you also respond to the spirit. The ancestors turn up and show up in different forms. So the communal and communicative expressions among Kumina adherents are a veneration to their ancestors with various ritualized performances conveyed through the drums. And the drums are very important to Kumina. You cannot have Kumina without the drums, period. And not the city girl, period, guys. Yeah. In general, these are the instruments that communicate the ancestors' messages. And with the drums, there is indeed a special language of the drum. Though drummers will play differently depending on their mood. But there has been a deviation in the playing of the music of Kumina in recent years, not by true practitioners. I'm speaking in terms of mainstream dancehall culture and the consumption of Kumina as a form of localized entertainment. Practitioners have mentioned that they at times must compete with sound systems that are now common features at 9 nights. Traditionally, it would have been the Kumina bands who were the only people playing in these settings. But there's a tendency nowadays to have the bands play early, and then the sound systems would take over until the wee hours of the morning. The popular sound system, generally reserved for dancehall spaces, is easily seen strung up at dead yards, and Kumina musicians must contend or compete with the blaring sounds of speaker boxes and daggering music. For example, between 2003 and 2016, numerous dancehall producers started a musical trend experimenting with Kumina rhythms and eventually voicing dancehall acts on what was dubbed Kumina Rhythm, with song titles Kumina Rock and Dance Kumina. These sleuth of rhythms hit the airwaves and blared over speakers, much to the delight of the dancehall masses. And we will show some example on the screen right here, so you can have an idea what I'm talking about.
Gyala shake like Kumina. Gyala shake like Kumina. Me want you to shake like Kumina. You just the fat pum Kumina. I hit me one show me hoodina. Gyal, me hoodina. Gyal, me hoodina. Me want you to shake like Kumina.
Okay, the next one, please. Okay, so you heard that. I'm sure you heard, the heavy bass interpretation of the Kbandu. So these songs were popular a couple years ago. I'm sure, I'm not certain if anyone is listening to these, or, there are other producers experimenting with Kumina rhythms. But what goes around comes around. And I'm sure maybe in another year or two, Kumina rhythms will come up on their radar again. So the interplay of a hybridized Kumina music with dancehall lyrics, marketed in commercial recordings and live performances, won over scores of listeners and somewhat reintroduced Kumina, clearly not differentiated from Kumina culture, to mainstream dancehall. Does this mean that Kumina is no longer authentic or has lost its integrity? Of course not. But the commoditization of Kumina culture is a cause for concern as a local intangible cultural heritage with global dynamics. There's a thin line as a heritage to protect with aspects of commodification. And as we talk about the music, the lyrics of the song in Kumina are not immune. In Kumina, there is what is known as the country song and the bailo songs. Both are performed in different dialects. The country Kumina are done in the original African or Kikongo language and are sacred to Kumina ritual performances not for entertainment. However, the latter, bailo, is a mixture of Jamaican Creole. These are entertaining, from what you heard, by nature, and the tone is reflective of dancehall subcultures and street slangs, some of which, unfortunately, are not appropriate to repeat in this space. So let us listen to Whitmore Simpson, also known as Bongo Baya, a renowned Kumina practitioner, to have a better understanding of bailo and country songs. Can you please play Whitmore Simpson tape? Thank you.
Again.
What is this plant used for, and on what occasions?
Well, they use it for a whip, most time, And they use it for special reason in the fire because carrot and abon, No, it's tough.
Can you please explain what is bailo and country kumina?
Achio. All right. No, this part, no. Me bomojala, yala, bomojala. Jibang kati madiala, ba bomojala. Ye, jibang kati madiala, ba bomojala. That song is a country song. You will say, if you have belly, jala, you're hungry. Jibang kat minti say na no money. Me bomojala, so I say, me hungry or me hungry. Me na no money, me belly hungry. So that is the country. No, bailo now, are the one like where I say no. But it's singing pure English. Bailo singing pure English, where people can understand. Like I say, what are working old ladies? Simbalo, ho, ho, simbalo. What are working old lady? Simbalo, simbalo. We the grass to put it so simbalo, sim. We the grass to put it so simbalo, simbalo. Ta working old lady, simbalo, simbalo. That's the Jamaica bailo.
What does bailo and country kumina mean to the community?
Hey, it means everything, man. Because, I got to tell you now, just like how you see, all right, I break it down, I can understand the bailo now. See, like how you see Jamaican, something happen, and then put it in a song, the Jamaica bailo now, put them in a song. Because it's not everybody can talk the country, but everybody can sing the bailo. Because you have this girl named Judy, great Kumina girl, and she drowned it. And then sing the song. And if no, people know it. Judy drowned it, why yo, Judy drowned it. Why yo, me say Judy drowned it, lad, oh, Judy drowned it. Say everybody ball when Judy drowned it, whoa, whoa, say Judy drowned it. Judy drowned it, lad, oh, say Judy drowned it. Say everybody ball when Judy drowned it, whoa, whoa, Judy drowned it. See, they have a lot of things. You have this, I like this one, But then say, wanty can get to you, lang baga money. Lang baga money, you, lang baga money. Getty, they no want you, lang baga money. Lang baga money, you, lang baga money. Getty, they no want you, lang baga money. Wanty can't get you, lang baga money. See, the bailo is catching and it chart. But the country, it's nice, I know. The country, when they can't sing the country, you have the man or the woman. We know the country and sight, When you sit down there, who no know, The time you hear what they say, stranger. They have this one, we say, when they go down to the country, most of them, they always start with this one, we say, oh, you tell Madongo, turn one side, you tell Madongo, turn one. Yeah, Madongo boy, turn one side, you tell Madongo, say, turn one side. They tell Madongo, you tell Madongo, say, turn one side. Yeah, you tell Madongo, turn one. Yeah,
Yes.
Dongo boy, turn one.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So we heard the country and the bailo. So the bailo is in the Jamaican dialect, Creole patois mixed with English, while the country Kumina is the more sacred. This is done during ceremony, and it is sung in the Kikongo or African language. So where do researchers toe the line with the notions of aesthetics and artistic creativity as we seek to advocate for policies to promote while preserving Kumina heritage? In this TikTok era, YouTube video posting, these are some of the things that affects Kumina communities as well. One of the dilemma affecting Kumina communities is that a majority of the elders who play a unique role in the preservation of knowledge have either transitioned, meaning they have died, or migrated elsewhere, and contact is difficult to establish with the others. Again, the impact of the global health pandemic is not lost on the Kumina communities. And so persons whom I interviewed no longer communicated with former adherents, either because in their relocation they misplaced phones and forgot to keep up with the whereabouts of others. This, of course, we can all understand, since at the height of the global health pandemic, it was such a time of uncertainties for everyone. So, you know, some people were just focused on their immediate family and forgot to keep up with, you know, the whereabouts of other practitioners. On a positive note, the few remaining practitioners are still enthusiastic and spirited by any opportunity to share real knowledge on Kumina. Though some are weary and tired of interviews, particularly since there is no monetary payment on the Institute's part, unfortunately, practitioners suffer from what I term interview fatigue. So I decided to Google the phrase, and I came across research fatigue, which occurs when marginalized minority and/or indigenous groups are repeatedly approached, surveyed, questioned, and incorporated into research projects to share a part of their understanding on their culture. Research fatigue takes into account power balances, and the positive gains throughout this process are often unequal. That is, the researcher benefits the researcher. The research benefits the researcher and not the local community being interviewed. And this leads the participants to feel weary and disinclined towards further involvement. Fortunately for us, while the interviewees were very receptive during my calls and my emails, once I got into the communities, practitioners and adherents began to express their real concerns to me, such as lack of government support and limited institutional support, very few or no visitors to the area, and a general malaise with how Kumina is seemingly pushed to the sideline as a spectacle until Independence Day. And that's what the practitioners expressed to me. Those are not my words, really. So this is why approaching future research from a socio-cultural sensitive lens will be necessary and critical for researchers intending to embark on future work within the community. So what is socially cultural sensitive or socio-culturally sensitive approach? According to Joan Seba, it is the understanding and approaches that enable one to gain access and understanding to individuals in a given culture and to learn about their actual lifestyle. Instead of going with a camera or a microphone in the faces of Kumina practitioners, you want to be very sensitive how you approach the community. You have to listen to them. They lead and I follow, in my case. So Phyllis Eade and Carol Allen also said that socio-culturally sensitive approach is referred to as knowing the cultural context of the group that the researchers wish to work with. The researchers must exhibit cultural sensitivity and competence through their knowledge of the key values of the social group. So, for example, if you know Kumina practitioners do not eat pork, don't go there with your lunch bag filled with pork and then have the nerves to take it out in front of them. I'm like, okay, let's break for lunch, or to offer that to them. So that's just a simple example. Researchers also need to demonstrate culturally appropriate communication and willingness to learn. As researchers, we cannot go into communities as if we're the God of all things. Do not live the lifestyle or practice it, we listen to the community in which we're conducting our interviews. So such research involves integrating cultural beliefs, characteristics, attitudes, values, traditions, experiences, and norms of a target group or community in our research design, implementation, evaluation, and material. In this case, it is removing Kumina from the predominantly white gaze and beyond the focus of the periphery, which would be us. Because Kumina communities do not always come under the white gaze, but they come under the local gaze as well, where we watch them. Oh, it's Obia that one performing. Oh, this is Guzum. Essentially, again, I will go back to social media as well. With the increasing emergence of these social media sharing platforms, how do we achieve centering Kumina communities, removing them from the public gaze, removing them from the myopic lens of being a spectacle? Well, this is an area that really requires more research. But the practitioners are concerned about not benefiting from interviews. For example, when researchers enter their communities and film Kumina sessions, then place these on YouTube and other social media, these videos are then monetized. And I'm sure some of you high school students might have your YouTube channel that is being monetized, or TikTok. So you can relate to this, right? No? Okay. Well, in the future, I'm sure. So this is where we need to know that Kumina and Kumina culture is not an aesthetics. It's not nice or cool for you to just, oh, we just want to pose with the Kbandu to put on our TikTok or to share on our YouTube. These are sacred instruments as well. So the community do not accrue or benefit from this monetization. They're not compensated sometimes for their contribution. So this is where research fatigue sets in. They're tired. If on a particular day you call them, you know, normally they would have been very pleasant, but because you might have gone into the community where 2 days earlier some interviewer had gone, and worse, they didn't get any money. You know how that feel. You do a chore at home and you're expecting your mother to give you movie ticket to see Little Mermaid and nothing comes up. So, yeah. So critics may ask, can you monetize culture? Or can you monetize Kumina without it becoming a spectacle? And how do you distinguish between the sacred and the secular? For me, this is a matter for the Kumina community to decide. And we're still hoping that Adoma will get here on time so we could have some question and answers for her, some questions with her. So in summing up, Jeff, can you show some of the photographs, please? What conclusion can we draw from this research? I say that Kumina has a rhythm, which is in sync with the rhythm of life and nature. It is within the alchemy of these elements that practitioners demonstrate resilience in uncertain times, using their traditional knowledge and practices to find solutions to the challenges of everyday living, as they have done for centuries. Their communities continue to adapt to change while maintaining their cultures and tradition. Yet practitioners have shown resilience again in challenging times in this time. And what are the implications for future work, for future researchers? The Institute, the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, needs to rethink the way we interact with Kumina communities, as well as how we produce and consume information. If our research or any other institute research is not going to lead to sustainable outcomes. For the most part, while I consider this research a credible undertaking given the challenges, there are indeed gaps such as misplaced expectations between academia and Kumina interviewees. There is no easy and immediate solution. We must be sensitive towards the communities we interact with, their beliefs and their norms. Even within our limited capacity as researchers, all stakeholders must collaborate in policy formation, monitoring, and implementation of finding pathways to safeguard knowledge on Kumina, with the hopes that policymakers will honor their culture and ensure that these cultural retentions are not forgotten. Thank you. Jeff, can you play the second video, Natural Black, again with the Kumina rhythm? Okay, just a minute, Jeff. Back to this photograph. So this photograph was taken in Springbank, St. Thomas, and we have the Kumina practitioners on the Kbandu, the plain cast. Angela has the grater in her hand, and this little old man here is Bongo Shot. He's about 84 years old, and he's still an avid Kumina player. And the shaka over there in the left-hand corner, that is the shaka. So these are the other musical instruments that accompany the Kbandu and the plain cast with the kata stick that you see here today. Yes. Next photo, please. And that's our very capable AV tech, Mr. Pasley. And that is Chacha Ben. I don't know if anyone who is familiar with him, but he's a well-known Kumina player, but he mostly plays Bailo Kumina. And that is Bongo Shot, or Mr. Lenroy Alexander. Okay, so I think Ms. Weiss, it's your turn, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you again.
All right, although she was thrown in the deep end according to her, she did very well, didn't she? Thank you very much, Marsha, but this is a time when I know there are going to be a number of questions. Bongo Shots and Adoma, they're on their way, having a little challenge getting here. So hopefully when they come, we will break to hear from them. Right? But now you have an opportunity to engage Marshall. So are there any questions and comments? This is very important for her research, to get your feedback on the work that we're doing, or in particular Marcia is engaged in. I'm sure there are questions from the students. She took you through, she took you through the methodologies employed in research. Are there any probing questions as it relates to that? Do we have any questions from our online audience? My phone died, so I'm unable to monitor. Oh, here we have. Wonderful. From my alma mater. Please stand.
How did your experience change your spirituality? Change your experience spiritually? Because what's your religion? Are you Christian? So how did you learn about Kumina, change certain views on Christianity or anything? Are you still the same before you did the interviews?
All right. So quite an important, very valuable question, because sometimes when we engage in research, it is possible for us to be impacted as well. So have you been shaped at all by this research?
I mean, I've been shaped in terms of being an historian and a researcher, but my role was an observer, not a participant. And it may be difficult at times to separate oneself from their research. There are known cases where a researcher goes out into the field, whether it's Kumina or Maroon or a rock band or some hippie-loving hedonistic group, and you get caught up in the moment. Next thing you know, your clothes is off, or you are beating the drum, or stamping your foot, you're climbing the tree back way. And I have not witnessed that one, but I've been told on several occasions, if you stay around Kumina long enough, you'll get to witness that man climbing the tree back way, or the white sheet on the drum playing without not a single soul there. Fortunately or unfortunately, I've not witnessed that as yet. Maybe in a few weeks, Miss Weeds, when we go in the field, we might be fortunate. But it has not impacted my own personal spiritual belief. I really full joy. All the intangible cultural heritages here in Jamaica, I respect them, but I know when to keep my distance. And besides, we have a nice AV tech who is covered under the blood of Jesus, Mr. Pasley, that I always carry with me in my back pocket. So yeah, thank you. Sure. And we have Adoma hairs.
Can I have a question, please, ma'am?
Malem.
Malem. I have a question, and I'm hoping I know how to give you the question. The young lady's question was extremely valid. I don't think it have anything to being a participant or an observer. I think what I wonder is, Kumina comes from the Congo, and I wonder if in watching Kumina, it gave you a respect of African religious spaces, which include drumming, dancing, chanting. It includes all of that for it to become. And Kumina is not a dance, and it's not a drum. It's a religious practice that has been proven to have, because of King Zambi Punga being and all of that. So my question is, did it give you a more global understanding of religious spaces?
Yes, as someone who has lived on the continent for 5 years, and I've been from West Africa to East Africa, from Gambia, Guinea-Bissau to Senegal to Rwanda, and the edge of Congo-Kinshasa, I do have true respect for culture, and I've witnessed, what persons would consider more I don't even want to use the word dangerous, but I've witnessed very serious rituals. And I've learned to separate myself, to turn on my cultural lens as a connoisseur of culture, and to appreciate what is before me without having any judgment. Because as a researcher, you really have to go into the field without any notions of judgment, being judgmental. You're doing your work, and I hope I went into the Kumina field doing justice to the Kumina practitioners. I appreciate the drum. It's really difficult, I must say to the student, it's really difficult to hear the drum and be like this. At some point, you will be stamping your foot, swaying your hip, snapping your finger. Maybe you'll catch a hold of yourself again. But and Kumina is serious music, Kumina is not child's play. It is really serious. Yes.
Long time. No, which one? This one here? Yeah, but mine was up before. So, young lady, can I beg you to let me go? Because I actually had wanted to speak. I put my hand up just after the little lady asked the question before the question was even answered, because I wanted to stand in solidarity with her on the question, not the answer. I wanted to stand in solidarity with this little one who is leading us today. This little one who is leading us today, I wanted to stand in solidarity with her. So from that time, I hand up. But still, I would have given the child, I would have given the child because I love them so still. I would have let her go. But I cannot let this pass because the answer is now burning me. The answer has caused a fire where she brought a cooling energy. And where I felt good that our young people were learning that when you step into something, you should learn something from it. No matter who you are, you're Hindu, Islam, whatever the hell you want to call yourself, you're going to church, learn something. You're going to a Christian church, learn something, bring something out for yourself. Not just for the cause or where you work, but whatever you say you are. If you say you're an apple eater and you got a mango tree, learn something.
And as I stated before, let me reiterate, Kumina is not Obio, Kumina is not Guzum, it's not a pseudoscience, and it's certainly not superstition.
All right after we have...
I actually was hoping that the Kumina practitioners themselves will speak on this.
Oh my gosh,
because Adoma is here.
You're here. May I have your permission to speak? You, Kumina is a way of life. Nothing more and nothing less. Am I correct, my elders? That is all it is. It's a way of seeing God. It's a way of seeing each other. It's a way of seeing all of us together, making each other better. That's what Kumina is. It's a way of life. Kumina is one of those religions that informed Christianity. Because for the Kumina original people then, Jesus Christ is still a baby, 2,000 years old. We go to spirit systems like the Akan spirituality. 13,023 years. We go to the Yoruba systems. 10,000, that is not from when them begin, that's when them start counting. That's not from when them start. We go to systems like Kumina, which predates Holy Padat. So this Christianity that we talk about is an evolution. There's nothing wrong or right about it. It's an evolution of all the spiritual systems that predated it, that has moved us day by day into new and better meaning of Tata and Zambi, the one and only Almighty God. Odomankamobo Adi, Elodomari, and God by all the names our ancestors called them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. All right, and we have another student. Where is the hand? Yes. And then we have a gentleman to the left, and then we go back to the students.
All right. Sorry.
That's all right.
What I am accustomed, what I know of, what I have been exposed to before, however, is revivalism, right? As you said earlier that you were saying is not Poko, it's not Guzil, that's the same thing that you're saying about revivalism, right? That's the same thing. The drumming is also a factor in revivalism. It's how they worship as well. The dance is also, even though it's a different dance, it's also a way how revivalists worship. They also seek the spirit, the dancing also, their way of invoking the spirits. This their way of connecting with their ancestors and so forth. So I'm asking, is there a deeper connection between both religion, or is it just the similarities because they're both African religion, or is there a deeper connection with the both religion shares?
Thank you very much. And that's an excellent question, because in our documentation over the years, something that we have started to notice is that at revival ceremonies, we see at a particular time Kumina being introduced. So yes, some deeper interrogation is really needed in that regard.
I specifically did not do a comparison between Kumina and revivalism, but there's specific, that one central feature that connects both is that they're rooted in Africa. The ethos is Africa, and there's a very deep spirituality and reverence for the ancestors. But for future reference, if you wish, our director, Dr. Kurt Henry, is an active member of the revival community, and he can elaborate on that for you, after the question and answer session.
All right, so I have a number of hands. I'm seeing Mr. Espute, but we have this gentleman, and then we go back to the students and Dr. Maria Smith, and then Dr. Espute.
Good morning. I must first say that I'm glad that there are a number of students here. I remember as a child I came here, not for Kumina, but for learning, as you see. However, the idea, the first reaction I felt in here today was when you said it's not Obia, and somebody clapped. And I think I understand very well why, right? Because hearing the drums make me emotional, and it does something to every one of us, even if we do not hold our foot down, because it does something to every one of us. Every one of us react to this drum, and we must be careful that the drum sometimes take us into places that we never want to. I remember in particular the what's his name now? He's a member of Parliament for West Kingston. Desmond McKenzie. He was probably not mocking, but he was just there, and the drumming took him away, and he had to be taken. He had to be physically taken away. So I know that Kumina is not a play. As a worker with Public Works, I was walking through the bush in St. Thomas. I did not know Kumina. I just heard the drums, and I followed the drums to a space and saw the children playing the drums. And they were preparing a burial spot. So I know the drums are not a plaything. The reason why I'm asking this question is that how has it impacted what happens in Haiti? In Haiti, I know most of you students do not know the history of Haiti. You only hear about some things. But as a researcher, you might be able to share some more light on it. How does our exposure to Kumina has impacted what happens in Haiti? By the way, Haiti is the only country in the entire earth that declared a free man. All slavery ended in Haiti. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But my work, we did not go in depth to make a comparison between Haiti or the Haitian Revolution and Kumina as we speak. But maybe for, for future reference again, you can come to the Institute. We're very open. We can engage in dialogue. Okay? Thank you. And again, I would like to welcome Adoma and her sisters, the daughters of the late Bernice Henry. And Adoma. And if you have any questions specifically for Adoma, kindly feel free to ask, because they are the practitioners. They know Kumina inside out. They born it, they live it, they wake, eat, breathe, and sleep Kumina.
All right, so just before Dr. Henry, so just before I move, I think it was Mr. Espute, right? Just before, what's your name? Kofi has a quick response. Kofi, she has a quick response to this gentleman's question.
Thank you for your permission to answer. There is still a significant number of Haitian people who hold to their indigenous traditions. And when I say that, I speak to the indigenous tradition of the land, as well as the indigenous traditions that came to the land and merged and shaped and formed who they are today. You will know that during the history of Haiti, as you spoke, that there was a lot of backing and forthing and a lot of fighting of the traditional systems, very much like what we have here, to the point where something was concocted and made illegal, because I still don't know what Obia is. I still don't know. And so, but somebody says this, some people say it has African retentions. So it has been this very same in Haiti, where what was perceived as African retentions were downtrodden and looked upon. However, every state of crisis that Haiti goes through, they call on their spiritual systems and all the deities and God as they have shaped and made meaning of that God force through their understanding of God, especially from the indigenous spaces, where God is seen as having a daily impact in our lives, where ancestors are seen to be having a daily impact in our lives. So from what I've heard from various sources and also from my interactions, what has happened is that the hurricanes and all these kinds of things, the Haitian practitioners of indigenous traditions, like our Kumina, like our Kbandu people, have not relinquished their trust, their loyalty in the spirit that we call that great creative force, and have used all of those situations to actually pull them closer through the persecution. The drumming is so important. It comforts their spirit. That's one of the important things that the drum does for Asian people and for us too. Kumina, the drums comfort our spirits. When our spirits are raised to the point where we can have a vibration that allows us to be in conference with the divinity that we call the God being, that's a place of comfort for many of us. So the Haitian people, they have not lost track. Kumina is a big part. The Congolese people, we call it different things in different places. In Cuba they call it malongo. Some people call it palo. But it's a big part of the Haitian spiritual system. And so it's a big part of what they draw on in any crisis.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. I did my fieldwork for my master's in Springbank. I lived there for 7 months, and one couldn't avoid Kumina. It's a part of the life of the people. I can't tell the number of times I danced Kumina. I'm surprised that you could have been there and hear the drums and not be drawn in. Certainly the community people drew me into the circle. I don't know if, I'm sorry I missed the body of your presentation, but of course the group danced in a circle counterclockwise around the drummers. And my first question is, do you have any reason why it's always counterclockwise and never clockwise? But before I probably won't get another chance to ask another question, so let me ask the second one. George Eaton Simpson, writing about Kumina in St. Thomas a long time ago. I mean, I was there 30 years ago, which is a long time ago. But he was there probably 30 years before that. And he said that the uneducated observer might think that there was something sexual about Kumina. But it's not, he said. It's religious. And my immediate response to that was, how stupid. Something religious cannot be sexual, was Simpson's implication. And so my second question to you is, did you find anything sexual about Kumina? I certainly did. I will be happy to share that afterwards. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I suspect perhaps maybe the community can assist with the first one, but maybe you want to start.
Yes, in terms of your first question, in terms of the dancing in the counterclockwise position, and this is why I must say that the ACIG, JMB, really is the vanguard of indigenous, intangible cultural heritage, because I was pleased to have, as a part of my interview, Dr. Lantonette Steins, who is a choreographer and who has worked closely with the community, with the Kumina community. So I think she could shed more light on it, and also a Doma, as a noted dancer as well. So, Adoma, is there any specific reason why you dance counterclockwise?
Yes, ma'am.
You can come up here, please.
Yes, ma'am. Because what? Our ancestors was the person them usually dance in that form of way. So we have to do it that way, same way like where we're coming from, we ancestors. We have to.
There is a researcher by the name of Faris Thompson who went to the Congo and did in-depth research. I did a whole, my thesis, I did a lot of research with Queenie, and there is a long explanation as to why the counterclockwise and what it has to do with the stars and the earth as a whole. So if I can send you that information, because it's very in-depth as to why specifically counterclockwise. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, revival
quick
is
question, the quick and
counterclockwise,
easy
but-
question is this. The Congo cosmogram is one of the most ancient cosmograms making meaning of life that you'll ever come across. And one of the things that cosmogram identifies is the natural flow of energy in the universal space.
Yes.
And that direction represents a natural flow of energy in the universe.
Yes, I'm aware of the chi
Thank you.
and of course, you know, the elements with the earth, wind, and fire. So I'm aware of that. But our research did not delve into that far. Yes.
Okay. Right. Yes, I just want to congratulate that researcher, young researcher from Wolmer's over there, who made the observation that Kumina was being practiced within revivalism, because that is how it is. So you started your journey as a researcher. Congrats. Because revival, at many revival sessions, Kumina, there's a time when Kumina takes place. Right, sir? Good. So it's part of it. Exactly. I think they turn sisters now, you know, they're gone up, they pass, they reach sisters now. Yes. The other thing I want to say is that my simple answer for the being anti-clockwise, that is the African tradition, as directly opposed to the European, which is clockwise. So we have our own tradition. Okay. But I want to ask the drummers here, my friends of many years, sitting right in the front row. When you watch the screen and you heard the drummers who were accompanying the dancer, how did it make you feel? Because I have been feeling a shift, but I am not a musician. I don't know a clef from a sharp. So I want you to talk to it from me.
Good morning. So it's me named Super Sad. And my concern with Kumina has never really been to dance it, but to play Kumina drumming. So, I mean, me have two left foot, and Lantana to tell you she could have tried a little more, I go dance on Kumina. So, I have been fortunate to have gone around the island to several different places to teach drumming, not necessarily Kumina. And inevitably somebody comes to you and introduces to you something that them swear blind dead a Kumina that I'm not playing what you playing because this is Kumina, I learned it from so. But you know, if we are not careful, I'll let me jump a little bit further than that. The younger drummers today, and I'm sorry, there are just ladies from schools here. There are no boys from schools. Do any of you drum? No, play drum. Ooh, show me. No, man. No world best. I'm not talking about you. Do any of you drum? I know there's a very active drumming group at St. Andrew High School for girls. This one plays the drum. Put up your hand, we're afraid. Put up your hand and say, drum. I see two more around and say, them play drum. Yeah, but one of the things we have to be very careful about, and Adoma said it, you know, she said, when we dance counterclockwise, it's because our ancestors did it counterclockwise, and this is why we are dancing counterclockwise. Well, our ancestors played Kumina in a particular way. today, the drummers in Jamaica today are influenced by something called the djembe drum. How much I want to know a djembe drum? All right? And the djembe drum is hype. Believe me, you know. If you catch a wrong man on it and him play the djembe drum, you sound like you if you just stand up and look with the mouth wide open. Because you know, it is just pure hype. And it's not necessarily a spiritual drum, as the sister rightly said. That influence, that has spilled over into Kumina, into the Kumina that is played in schools in Jamaica, into the Kumina that is played by so many younger drummers today. I know that you don't want to listen to Chacha Ben. What Chacha Ben there? Stand up, my boys, please. See drummer there, this is Chacha Ben. He might not look like nobody, you know. He look a bit and he look fool, but when you hear Chacha Ben play, this is the epitome of Kumina drumming. See him there. Me, super sad, just see him there. Yeah. So to answer, Dr. Smith. Yeah, to answer Dr. Smith's question, I will answer it in 2 ways, Dr. Smith. You know that I'm also a potter, and so I'm a drummer. Now, for me to sit down and watch a man make a pot on a potter's wheel is mesmerizing. I will sit there all day and don't say a word to him, because he's doing it in the way that he knows how to do it, and it is fantastic for me to watch him and edify what I already know. But that is what Kumina drumming does to me. I have sat at church Ben foot, night, day, and church Ben say, Indian, get up and come play, you know. But I want to hear him play, you know. Yeah, when him play on a super sad that I play, when him play different something, when him play that I come from way back over there, so I mean, I know it used to go way back over there. So I've learned a lot from him. And it still is edifying. I think I can speak for all of us that it lifts us to hear other people drumming. It lifts us to hear other people drumming well. It lifts us to hear other people drumming where we don't have to judge and say, well, he could have played a little better, or he can't play good, or nothing like that. It lifts us to hear good drumming, and it edifies our skill. And I know what we are presenting our skill. So I don't know if I even make sense. Bless up.
All right, thank you very much, Super Sad. All right, so I have about 2 hands here, one from Woolmer's, and there was one just before you, somewhere over here.
Just a minute, Miss Wees. I know, Dr. Espute, you had asked about if I observe anything sexual about Kumina in terms of the playing of the music. The dancing, no. But there's a rhythm in Kumina and Kumina dance. So for the untrained eye and persons who have other notions in their head, they might see the sway of the hips as being sexual. But I think for Kumina dancers, it comes naturally. And as African people, moving your body is natural without sexual connotations. It's something that is inherent and innate in us. So, but I've not witnessed that. And for revival and Kumina, yes, there are persons in my interview sometimes vacillate between Kumina and revival. So 1 minute they're over here supporting the Kumina adherents, another minute they're over there in revival. There's somewhat a blurring of the line, but as I said before, both are rooted in Africa and their identity with Africanness. Just a minute, my director, who is a foremost Kumina revival scholar, will speak to this.
Just in support of Ms. Hall's response, Kumina as a practice and a religion revolves around life and death. And if you notice in Kumina, the very dance, there's emphasis on the pelvic area, yes, which resembles the fertility dance coming out of Africa. And the emphasis also is on the womb. So keeping a Kumina is to bring forth, is to produce something. So even in dancehall, you asked the question, is there a difference between the sacred and the secular? And scholars will tell you no, because we are in a context where a rumbar is beside a church. We're in a context where a danman carries a New Testament Bible in his pocket. We're in a context where in a dance hall space, a man drinking alcohol or pour some on the ground. So there's that balance between the sacred and the secular coming out of these religious practices. And a part of the problem with scholars trying to understand African religious practices is to make that distinction. between what is sacred and what is secular. You have sacred elements in that Jamaican dance hall, for example, that we need to interrogate. So of course, there's a high emphasis in Kumina on fertility and bringing forth, and even the very distinction of the drums being male and female in the practice. Thank you.
And I know Dr. Steins have been, oh, you were rearing in your chair, but I guess you wanted to say something, Dr. Steins, as a... I realized you were enthused and rearing to go. Oh. Okay, between revival and Kumina.
Like Queen, all the Kumina queens and kings, they will go to revival church and as well, they will tell you that I am a this in revival or I'm a that in revival. And it's because of them say, no, them is not cousins no more, them is sisters. And there are those who have an appreciation for both. So I can't repeat what she just said. Because she's a fire, you know, fire.
All right. Mr. Espute is going to, we still have a hand, and there are some other hands coming up, but he has a direct response.
My question about the sexual part of Kumina. I'm sorry, I missed the talk, so I'm probably repeating things you said. But in Kumina, it is common for people to catch up in a mile. I'm sure you mentioned that. And as they fall on the ground, they are held. And then there's a ritual for bringing them out of catch up in a mile. I suppose you mentioned that. And you probably mentioned the striking of matches and putting the lighted matches in their hair. And also one of the attendants will reach into the crotch of the person, if it's a woman, and take some of the vaginal juices and rub it on her face. Did you observe that? As I said, I lived there and I wasn't a visitor. After a while, I became a part of the community. And dancing in the circle, let's put it this way, the circle was, the people in the circle were very close to each other. And you mentioned the pelvic movements. And as one went around the circle, men and women in the dance, there was a lot of movement. And there's no other way to describe it other than sexual rubbing and gyration. And so it seems to me that that whole aspect of Kumina, if one omits that, then one is leaving out a whole dimension of the experience. And if I might use a word that hasn't been used yet, the theology of Kumina.
All right, thank you. But before you respond, the community would like to respond to Mr. Espute. Students and others, please bear with me. I'm coming to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eto. My name Panga. My name Kent. I'm from the Port Morant National International Kumina Group, a group that is passed down from my mom, Queen Bernice. I am Bernice's daughter, also my sister here, Adoma Buchanan. I'm Ivy Henry. Married now, Bramwell, but it's Henry. As I approach what you have just said before, in the Mayal, it's a connection between the spirit realm and an individual. When a person is in Mayal, that means there is involved with a spirit. And remember, our drum knocking communicate with the spirit. When you go into a Mayal, and that transition is made, where a person is in the Mayal form now, there are ways we use to get them out. Yes, but not what is said. I don't know where you get that from, but just approaching. One, many times we use assault. Depends, because person will catch in the Mayal and they will speak things which do happen. That will happen. And sometimes you need to shut them down before you reach a dimension where a person will realize, this someone I know too much. So I go shut her down we use the salt. Secrets to it. There's another thing, you can use the clothes. Take off the clothes, turn it on the wrong side. Yes, the matches. 3 sticks, 1, 2, 3, put it in the head. You're right about that. A person's also in the mile, invoke with a spirit and you want to get them out. Yes. You go around them 2, 3 times, over them, blow them with a little rum, come back, step back, go again, blow them with a little rum, go 3 times. You get them up, you jerk them, and you talk to them. My name Kent. We come here for Mambo. Go Masita. We are Mambo to we tower. But a time for relax. And we talk to that person. That transition, you can communicate. It is a communication within that person and the spirit. You have to in that realm to understand. Once these drums start beating, there's a different motion, a different rhythm, a different move, a different everything changed. So at that moment, you get to communicate, and that person will realize, I'm talking to a serious person, I need to go now. I have to my time and I need to go. And you take that person, you spin them and you put them to a seat and you calm them down. When they are calm, sometimes they don't even remember what took place. They don't know what they have done. Somebody else will have to tell them, look here, you do this and you run, go this and you do this and you ball out that and you say that. But at the same time, they are far. So Kumina is a natural and a spiritual connection. It is not just play the drum. Because with the ear, so, and you play a little drum and you feel all right until somebody just start tremble. Just a tremble, and then it's a different vibes, a different feeling, a different motion. And you have to talk now in your language and approach it and say, look here, yes, so we're there. We have to angle it different. So at the end of the day, no, me I go to patter because everybody know patter. I'm not the speaky spooky type, but me that's how I'm gonna understand what is Kumina. Kumina no play something. And like you just said, we're gonna play some drum. Some people play Kumina for birthday party, for dead yard, and them say, all right, we don't want a drum, we don't want a drum. I was born, grow, rooted in Kumina. I was that little girl you see behind Queen Bernice, that dance. I am that little girl today. Yes, I am. And it made me proud to see where I can stand and give somebody a lecture about Kumina, where I am coming from, just as much as I know and was taught back then, to bring it forward to students and other individuals so they can recognize that Kumina is not just Obia, as what was said before. No, she was right. It's not, Obia is nothing bad. It is our culture. It is our roots. It is something that is connected spiritually. So let me tell you, being that little girl, Queen Bernice, I've learned a lot. Not saying I learned much, but I've grasped a lot. And what I have, I can really put it out. So Kumina is good. It is something that, it is so vibrant. It is vibrant, very vibrant. So let us acknowledge that Kumina is something that we can look to. You know, something that we can say, this is our culture. It is part of us. It is a foundation. It's a root. And everybody know the drum. We have the Kbandu, we have the plain cast, and they all make of different. The Kbandu is made from, both of them are made from the goat skin. Yes. But the she-goat is the one that made the plain cast. And the trouble drum. The bass one now is the Rami, you know that. Yes. So we know that Kumina and nobody afraid. It's our culture. Let us embrace it. Queen Bernice did. And now I'm here to stand as her daughter to embrace it, to let people, to let our world, to let our institution know that Kumina is a part of us. It's from origin. It is from our foreparents. So today, let us embrace it. It is nothing bad. Don't be afraid of it. Especially my yell part, no people like Kumina, but when the Mayal part come now, you know, they say, me run gun, me no want to be a part of it because of Mayal. Yes, I understand. But get the time out to know the depth of it, and you will get to know what Kumina is really his today. So, my fellow gentlemen, yeah, thank you, but that's what it's all about.
Thank you. It is very important in the work of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, as Ms. Hall shared with you, in the methodology to engage with the community. So what you see here is how we approach research, not outside of the community, but involving the community. So now we have a young lady who has been waiting for a while, and we have some other hands.
Good morning, everyone. My question is for Miss Adoma. Right here. Yes. My question is, I was wondering, you said that you only dance flat foot, right? Yes. So I wanted to know how long it took you to adapt to that, because it looked like it hurt.
I born in that ways that we have to do it in that form. That each time when my mom coming from, I was a child, we always mainly beat the competition of that, by the way of how we do our things. It is not hard, you know? Because every type of dance have their special form or way. And we are not somebody when you can't tell, say, yes, used to choose. Yes, ma'am, no problem. When we even start in Kumina, in a manners of how to do it, we have to start a specific song to the type of thing that we're doing. We have to know the specific song to sing. We're just going to start now. Listen this song that we're going to sing.
Okay.
Malembe ho mineba, alembe ho, good no. That's what me telling you now. You hear? Good morning. But the Malem is the same thing, but in African country, you don't know it's good morning. So I'm putting the two words that you can understand what I'm singing.
Okay.
Good morning, Nenga Malembe. Malembe ya bola.
All right, doing the Kumina as it flat footed. This is the plot. 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 You have the belly move. Belly move is side move. Spin, rock, spin. Belly move. Good morning, oh. 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 I had a front. Good morning, oh. I had a back move. Good morning, oh. Good morning, up front. Good morning, oh. Good morning, oh. Good morning, oh.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Adoma, Chacha Ben, and others. But we have another question. I don't want to lose persons. I think Wolmer's, and then we go back to Holy Childhood.
What's up? I'm constantly hearing or being reminded that Kumina is not voodoo, but however, from what I've learned and like how they people in voodoo express themselves by when the spirit would evoke them, and you can tell by the ways in which they act. And our presenter, she was telling us that you could even see people in Kumina, they would be climbing trees backward, which is the same thing. And you're stressing that Kumina is not voodoo and saying that Kumina is good. So is it that you're saying voodoo is bad? And what's the difference?
Thank you. I think what was said was that it's not obia, and obia is used in a negative sense, right? Because often we interpret obia as just bad. So that is what she's saying, that obia is not what we can perceive as obia.
Good morning. My question for Ms. Adoma is that, what is the purpose of the rum?
The rum is that we use to greet the ancestors of what they used to use. That we have to do it in that way. And we have to use that.
Maybe for some of you, you have heard the term pouring libation. So the purpose of the rum is to pour libation. You're giving thanks, you're acknowledging the presence of the ancestors in the midst as well. So we want to thank Chacha Ben, Adoma, her sister Miss Ivy, for their presence here today. They're integral part of the research, and we could not have done this research without their contribution, without their patience, and certainly not without their knowledge. So I hope this has been a very edutaining presentation. I hope that you will leave here today refreshed, knowledgeable, having different insight and gaining different perspective on what Kumina is. Yes, there's a student with a... Oh, okay, go ahead, please. My apologies.
Good morning, everyone. My question is for Ms. Hall. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the topic Kumina and the culture about it, since before you were applying for the job, you didn't want it. So I'm asking, how do you feel about it now, after you've researched and experienced certain things about the topic?
Okay, thank you. Not wanting to do Kumina is because I was already exposed to Jamaica's intangible cultural heritage. I've been among Rastafarians, Maroons, so I was hoping for something new. But, of course, one never stopped learning. So when I went into the field, which I've never done before, it was very interesting. You know, I learned so much, more so about the community and the collective that is Kumina. Kumina is not a one-man or a one-woman show. It takes a collective spirit. It takes a community. And I have newfound appreciation for Kumina, the practitioners, the symbolism of what it means for Jamaica. And my hope is that it will be listed on the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List. So I do have a newfound appreciation for Kumina.
Good morning. My question is for Ms. Hall. My question to Ms. Hall is, Kumina we all know it is rooted in Africa, as well as several different religions that are in Jamaica island-wide, and that is practiced. My question is, religions like Rastafarianism and religions practiced by the Maroons, etc., do you think Kumina has played an integral role in those religions, as well as do you think that the lifestyle that those people live, do you think it's a derivative from Kumina?
Oh, that is such a very good question. Thank you so much. Because while I did not delve into it, the first Rasta music is actually Kumina music. You know, the drum, the bass, the rhythm. So yes, Kumina was I would not want to say a trendsetter, but Kumina paved the way for a lot of the other indigenous culture in Jamaica. I know as I said before, the center is Africa. So sometimes you might see a Rasta man on a Kumina drum. You might see a Maroon at a Kumina event. They support each other, and they have a lot in common, you know. So Kumina music is very integral to reggae. It has evolved into what we have as reggae music. The Howalite movement in Augustown, they were also associated closely with the Kumina culture.
May I?
Yes.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be among students and luminaries and practitioners of the Kumina culture. As a researcher in Jamaican folklore and Jamaican Afrocentric cultural and folk form, I am very appreciative of the questions that have been asked with relation to the relationship between the cultural forms. Kumina, the first question was about the relationship between Kumina, revivalism, and Pocomania. Kumina is known to be the most Afrocentric, Afro-retentive cultural form that is practiced this side of the world. And so with regards to the relationship between revivalism and Pocomania, they too are Afro-retentive folk forms. However, they have European influences, while Kumina is Racha, real Africa. Yes? And so that is what the link, the last question about Rastafarianism and all the religious cultural forms and cultural retentions that are practiced in Jamaica. Kumina is a foundation because of its Afrocentricity, its real Africanness. So I give thanks to the Queen Mother and the Queen Princesses to keep this retention alive. I give thanks to the students who are here today who will keep this retention alive. Blessed love. Ailey.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that contribution. As you mentioned, yes, Kumina is the purest African form of cultural retention. It has no Christianized ethos. There's no pastor in Kumina. There's no bishop in Kumina. There's no Bible used in Kumina. They don't bow to any European deity in Kumina. And I stand corrected. As we have the community here, I'm hoping you can engage with them as well after this presentation.
All right, and we do want to hear from our students. I'm really enthused that they have more questions. Yeah. So we're going to allow them
for
to
two
ask.
more, maybe.
My question is for Adoma's sister. I forgot her name, sorry.
Miss Ivy.
You were speaking about ways in which you take people out of Mayal, that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. And is it that some spirits are more powerful, I don't want to say aggressive, so powerful, that you cannot speak to them?
When you're connected, yes, you can speak to them, but there are some what you call like stubborn. Yes. Yes, we have to connect to them. Connection will have to take place. And within that connection, sometimes you speak to them and you will call it where they would be like, stubborn. So you have to, be that strong. Because remember, you are the one that is alive. And they are the one that, you have connected. So that's a spirit. So you have to be the stronger person to look at. Stop now. You're demanding. You're commanding. So you are taking control. All right? So taking that control, you have to let that spirit know that this is it. Stop. Out. So there's a special way in how we communicate. So we can communicate effectively.
So what is the purpose of evoking the spirits if you'd want them out after?
Sometimes they have a message.
All right. I would say invite the spirit, but once the Kumina has been played, it's like they're invited. So it's like they come, they say, I don't need to call them. Once the drum start, the rumble, that's it.
Thank you very much. We could go on, and regrettably, I'm going to have to say that I didn't realize my phone died. So we booked the space for 1 hour. So if there are any questions, and we have gone way over that. So if there are any questions on the outside, you can engage persons, but we really have to wrap up now. I do apologize. We will be planning, though, because we want to give the communities a space for them to speak and for them to lead the discussions. So we'll be working on a special workshop for that. Listen out. The only thing I'm going to say to that is funding, permitting. That's the only thing that is going to affect that. All right, so look out for that. Right now we're going to ask, is it Mrs. Delissa who will be doing the vote of thanks? Thank you so much. This has really been a success. Yes? Oh, wonderful. Oh, because I forgot that we have persons online as well. So yes, please do send your questions in as well. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Director of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica, Jamaica Memory Bank, Dr. Kurt Henry, and the staff, I would like to thank our presenter, Ms. Marcia Hall, Research Officer, ACIJ JMB, for her very informative, riveting, and entertaining lecture presentation, Beat the Kbandu, Reinterrogating Kumina in Jamaica. Thanks also to Ms. Chelsea Stevenson for introducing the speaker, and to Ms. Kezia Wees for moderating and chairing the event. Special thanks to the students and teachers of Holy Childhood High and Wilmer's Girls' School for attending despite exam pressures. And Kingston Technical High School as well. Sorry.
That's all right.
We also wish to thank Dr. Maria Smith, Dr. Jonathan Greenland, Dr. Lantoinette Steins, Dr. Dave Goss, Miss Carol Miller, Miss Georgette Miller, Reverend Peter Spute, Professor Linda Sturts, and drummers Philip Supersad, Ras Hopper and Calvin, and Adoma Buchanan and Earl Williams from the Port Morand International Kumina Group for attending. And Ronald Perry as well. Thank you. We are also grateful to our online audience for attending, and also we are grateful to the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica for recording the event. We thank you all for attending and participating in our discussion. please visit our book table and purchase our publications before you leave. We have on sale our ACIJ Research Review number 5 and Goods and Power, Obi in Jamaica, which are going for half price. Have a good afternoon, everyone, and we hope to see you all at our next presentation. Thanks once again for attending.
Phone. Whose phone is? Oh.
And we will be closing out with the drummers from Springbank community. Adoma, Miss Ivy, please join us. Students, if you're interested, you can join. Faith, you're gonna come up here and join. Students.
One more piece in the bongo something. The real culture. Hey, hold him round the waist. Hold him round the waist. Hey, hold him round the waist. Hold him round the waist. Call why you wait. Call why you wait. To link a trade. Hold him why you wait. Hold him why you wait. Call why you wait. Call why you wait.
why you wait. Only why you wait. Only why you wait. God, why you wait. God, why you wait. God, why you wait. Only money wait. God, why you wait. Only money 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 wait. Call why you wait. Only money wait. Call why you wait. Only money wait. Call why you wait. Only money wait. Only why you wait. Only money wait. Only why you wait. Only money wait. Why? Only money wait. 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 Call why you wait. Only money wait. Call why you wait. Only money wait. Only money wait. Only medium. Medium. Hey. Blessed man, Malem. That means me say morning or evening. Malem, morning or evening. Malembe. All right.
Oh, thank you so much to the community members, to our wonderful audience. I can't say more thank you. It was a pleasure having you all here. And as I said, we will be organizing something later on the year. So we will keep you abreast. Those of you who are on our mailing list, if you're not, please ensure that you register so you can be placed on the mailing list and we can keep you abreast of all that is happening at the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for being here, choosing to be here with us. All right?